I'm going to start today by my topic is intensifying your joy, and I'm going to start by telling you something that Kriyananda said to me a long time ago. I want to say too many things first, and the first thing I want to say is this intensifying your joy is a technique that Yogananda taught, Shelly taught, and Kriyananda taught, and it's not just something a philosophy of saying, oh, you should be more joyful. It's an actual technique where you can use to become more joyful. But I was back in the olden days, back in the days when we were on Michigan Avenue and at the Sheraton in Chicago, that I was talking to Kriyananda, and I was I was trying to do some of the things that I'm doing now, teaching and and I was doing some charts, but I also had some problems with my, personal energy level. And so I went up to him and I said, just privately, it was just somehow we were both just chatting in the temple. And I said, if you could just tell me how you how you manage to do all the things you do. Because remember, we've talked here about how much that he did. He 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 read charts all day long. Then he taught classes in the evening, and he taught classes on the weekend. And I just was reading um, one of his. I don't know where I saw this now, but he was talking about how he would get calls like at 3 o'clock in the morning for people to pray for them, and he was just he was doing a lot. And so I said, well, how do you do all these how do you talk, how do you keep talking all day long and read so many charts for people and things like that? And he looked at me and he said, I enjoy the heck out of it. Now, I told this story to one person, and he thought I was just saying something funny about that Kriyananda said heck or something like that. He thought that was funny, but that wasn't the part. It's like Kriyananda was speaking to the the technique of intensifying your joy. So I've been going through like a lot of old papers, which is so many papers from the temple, so many things. And I found this from in a brochure for I don't know if you can see it. It's the 1981, or if it looks backwards too, I don't know. It's the 1981 Babaji Festival of Joy brochure. And inside the cover, it was a quote from Yogananda, and I'll just read the whole thing. He said, yoga, this is a technique from Yogananda. It's not just a philosophical thing. He said, no matter what causes it, whenever a little bubble of joy appears in your invisible sea of consciousness, take hold of it and keep expanding it. Meditate on it and it will grow larger. Watch in the limitations of the little bubble of your joy, but keep expanding it until it grows bigger and bigger. Keep puffing at it until puffing at it with the breath of concentration from within until it spreads all over the ocean of infinity in your consciousness. Keep puffing at the bubble of joy until it breaks its confining walls and becomes the sea of joy. I'll send you the quote when I send out the video. But yeah, so he was talking about intensifying your joy. And there's just so we've talked about this before. With the influx of media and all the different things that are happening in the world and all the people that we're, finding about because we're praying for them and all these different things, we tend to get really focused on the all life is suffering part of life. And that's we want to be aware of it. We want to be able to do our dharma and take care of people and do what our responsibility is to do in life. But that doesn't mean that we can't be joyful. So first we have to give up the idea that we have to suffer along with other people, or that we have to realize, we were talking about this, I think, last week or in some other class, I don't know where I am, but it was, um, yeah, you change the things that you can within life. You change the things that you can. And, but the more important thing that I want to say is Kriya Yoga. Kriyananda said this. I'm not making this up. Okay. Kriyananda said that one of the benefits or one of the elements of Kriya Yoga is the ability to take one state of consciousness and change it into another state of consciousness. So if you have the ability and you recognize that you are, floating in the sea of despond, if you want to say it that way, if you're in despair, or you're in your mind, remember, thoughts are things, they just keep floating around and we keep attaching ourselves to them. So if you find yourself, that this isn't easy practice, but first of all, know that you have the ability to change your consciousness from one state to another state. And therefore, you have to know a technique to do that. So you have to find that one little bubble of joy and then focus on it, concentrate on it. Let your mind stay on it as long as it can. And you know how the mind works. It's just like meditation. Okay, we're going to meditate now. I'm doing my meditation practice, and then the mind runs away. And the first thing that I always say to people when I was teaching beginning meditation is, okay, you recognize that your mind has run away from this. Now all you have to do is very gently pick your mind up, bring it back to center, and meditate again. We're not going to beat ourselves up because we can't hold it. But in this case, we're talking about something joyful. And so, and you can practice this in your everyday life throughout the day. So this is why everyday life is so great. In case you'd forgotten that everyday life is great. It's like you can do something as simple as look at a flower, look at something in nature, look at the leaves on the trees, the leaves turning color, or whatever you have in your area. You look at that and you feel like, look at the sky. In the Midwest, the sky, the blue of the sky in October is different from any other month. It's just so beautifully blue. And just look at the sky, or whatever you're doing, whatever you come across. And that's a symbol that raises your vibration, that makes you feel just that little bubble of joy. And so how often do we see that joyful thing and then we turn away and go on to the next thing? But the intensifying your joy practice technique is, you recognize that beautiful thing, like like we do an object of beauty meditation, that you recognize that thing, and you focus on that feeling, not so much the thing, but that feeling that it gives you. And then you just intensify it. And intensifying is like, for me, it would be like a dish of really good ice cream, which I don't have that often so much anymore. But you get something really good, or like, somebody's home baked dessert. But for me, let's say it's ice cream, and I take a taste of that ice cream, and then I'm just like, this is so good. But then intensifying your joy means you stay with it. You just go like, mmm. You're not eating more. You're experiencing the joy of that. You're intensifying that. So this is an everyday life thing. Maybe it's a bowl of oatmeal. I really like oatmeal. So when with raisins. And so when I have oatmeal with raisins, it's like, this is so good. And so you can use things like that in your everyday life. And or I know a lot of us have pictures, artwork around us, or pictures of the our Ishta or anything else like that. And if that brings joy, then uh, you use that, and but you stay with it. You stay with it for just a little bit longer. So it might have in the past, it might have brought you like one brief second of joy, but maybe you can expand that out to 5 seconds of joy. And it's not, and then realize Yogananda says um, to to not focus on so much on the object, but on that feeling state of joy. And so if you have work that you like Kriyananda said, enjoy it. Recognize that this is what you love to do and enjoy it as much as you can by feeling the state of joy that you get. Um, so we're taking our own selves and moving from one state of consciousness to another state of consciousness. And yeah, Shelley talked about this too, because he said, he talked about it in a lot of ways at different times, but he talked about that when you're going to meditate, when you're going to your daily meditation, that you should have a feeling of joy, like you're a kid coming down on Christmas morning and you're going to be unwrapping your presents. That excitement, that joy. He said you're going to be in I'm paraphrasing, okay, but he said you're going to be in trouble if you think about your daily meditation as a task. Something, I got to do this. I got to get this out of the way so I can go on to the other stuff. But it should be more like, wow, I get to meditate today. So, and you can do that probably with any task. And you can work with it a little bit too. Like, so if you're depending on if you're trying to change an attitude about something, like washing dishes and or cleaning the kitchen, you go like, oh, I have to clean the kitchen. I've been doing it every day for the past 85 years. I've got to do it again. Well, then you're setting up a particular state of consciousness, but you can do something like you can feel the joy of the warm water. We're so lucky to have water. I know if you live in California, so there's times when you couldn't just run the water, but just to have water, to have warm water, to be able to wash dishes with, to be able to do things with. We're very blessed and very lucky to be able to have these things. But if you can, the joy of water, the joy of drinking water, the joy of, but anything test, or I saw somebody on YouTube, it was a YouTube about, attitudes in housework. And the person said he changed his attitude when instead of saying, oh, I have to clean the house, he said, oh, I get to have a clean house. If I do this task, I get to have a clean house. And he said that this helped. So this isn't a yogi. This is an everyday person who thought about ways of changing their state of consciousness. So we have to be careful of intensifying our negative emotions, or feeding the negative emotions, and just really to be joyful. But it's too hard to just say to somebody, especially if somebody's deeply depressed, to say, hey, just be joyful. Well, what does that mean? That's a really that's like going from here to here, and how do you even get there? But the idea is just Yogananda's idea of just taking this little bubble of joy and don't let it go right away. Just focus on it. Focus on that. See if you can expand it. See if you can rest in it. and just so, and he's, so nobody's talking about you have to be in, the total bliss of Ananda, which would be lovely, but we're just saying this, take this everyday joyfulness, this everyday good feeling, and see how far you can get with it. Oh. And I think I'll stop there and then we can open it up for discussion. But I hope you found this helpful. Namaste.